for a little digital invention, would you say, Richard?
Yes, let's get the digital invention people up here. Come on down.
Say a word about Richard Gottleib. Runs a fantastic conference, also World Congress of Play. Richard has some unique ideas about play and why it's a serious commodity that's at a great loss right now. Kids have very little of it, and the best inventors will win, and so you will see all this magic come together under Richard's tutelage right now.
Well, it's so great to be here, and you know, I always feel that it's really important to have great speakers, but it's even more important to have a great audience. And I want to thank everybody for being out there and joining us today. You know, we're at a really kind of a strange time in the world of play, because at this point in history, we really have more play than we have demand. If you think about it, you know, it used to be pretty much toys, physical play, and then we got apps and video games and an explosion in children's media, and suddenly we find ourselves with way more entertainment and play than we have time for. And that's the other problem, is for children, children are play deprived. The latest numbers I saw was that today's kids get 50% less play time than we did in the 1970s. And that recess in school is down to 15 minutes a day. So I want you to think about this for a minute, that there is more play available right now than ever, but yet children have less time to engage in play than they ever did. So where the corner of the realm may have one time been square inches on a store shelf, the corner of the realm now is time in an 8-year-old kid's head. And how much of that time do you get? And so really, those who create have a tremendous challenge ahead of them in creating products that are breakout products, that demand time. So today, our panel is going to introduce themselves, and they're going to talk about their pathway in terms of creativity. But I do want to point out that we've had a couple changes here, and I don't know who these people are, so any more than you do, because the pictures don't match up with the names. As you may notice, the people here on the panel don't look like some of the people in the pictures. Right. And so we have a very good-looking panel up here. These are great-looking folks, but they don't look like the people in the pictures. So, so we're going to do some introductions, and why don't you just, for starters, just introduce yourselves and maybe just say which of you is not matched up. This is like a game, match the face with the name. Go ahead.
My name's Matt Macbeth. I'm co-founder of PyLab Edwin the Duck, and I'm not the guy with the beard. So.
Yeah. Okay.
My name is Mark Anderson. I'm an SVP at Snap One, and that's not me.
Here, you guys like to tell the truth. You probably don't remember that show. Okay. You're next.
I'm Azara Jamalian, co-founder, Chief Learning Officer at Sigley, and that's me.
And she very much is up there.
And I'm Darren Karstens, and I am the Darren Karstens. I'm a stay-home dad and an app developer.
Okay.
Doing educational stuff for kids.
Very good. Why don't you go ahead and lead off here and tell us a little bit about your path as a creative and as an inventor.
Well, my start, I guess my gateway drug was Lincoln Logs. I don't know if you remember Lincoln Logs when you were younger.
You know who invented Lincoln Logs? Frank Lloyd Wright's son.
We need to hang out.
Did you know that? Did everybody know that? Frank Lloyd Wright's son invented Lincoln Logs.
Yeah, so I must have, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old or so, I built a bunch of little stuff out of Lincoln Logs and had erector sets. But then when I saw Lego bricks, my whole world changed. I don't know, I must have been 6, 7 years old. The stuff you could do, you could take a big pile of bricks, just throw it on there. You know, all the cousins at my grandma's house, we would just all hang out with a big garbage bag full of Legos and make stuff and break things and hang out together. And we kind of really learned how to do stuff together. So it was kind of like the first learning, sharing environment that I was in. And then I kind of went on to be an engineer, so I was always the one taking apart ballpoint pens to make springs before you had the cool spring sets and air springs for Legos, and just taking apart tape recorders and just kind of breaking things around the house and find out how they work, and then figure out how to incorporate that with the Lego sculptures I was making. I would make cars and stuff, and it just really learned. It was, after playing with Legos for, I don't know, 10 years, mechanical engineering actually was pretty easy. So.
Excellent. Before you go, I just want to say a little funny fact in between to break it up. What started the Renaissance? Anybody know? Coffee. It was the importation of coffee into Europe. And the whole continent said, whoa, I got an idea.
All right. So I've been fascinated with new inventions my whole life. I work for this company, Snap One. It's my 9th startup that I've worked for. So 25 years ago, I was one of those guys that I would work for a company for a year or two, and then we'd sell it, and then another one for a year, and then we'd sell it. And I had a really bad-looking resume because it looked like I couldn't keep a job. Nowadays, that kind of seems to be the norm, but 20 years ago, it wasn't like that.
Ahead of your time.
I've had fun all along the way.
And just another little funny fact here. What was the first wearable technology? Eyeglasses. Okay.
For us, I don't think we never had an aha moment, but the really secret ingredient is we try to sit down and watch kids as they play, and that they provide a source of imagination for our creativity. And then obviously we do our best to execute and show their imagination in our products and design sort of toys that expand those imaginations and help them to think in new ways and stay the stretchy learners and creators as they are. And the main driving fact for us is just seeing their smile on their face, really, and also seeing them grow and learn as they play. That's it.
Okay. What was the first in-home technology? The mirror. It's funny facts. Funny. Very funny fact. Okay, my friend.
So my path, I would say, started when I was a kid. I'd say I was a self-taught artist. I didn't really have a real art class until I was an art major in college. So I pretty much taught myself everything I knew. And I think one of the big parts was coming from the people I saw in culture. So it was knowing that there was a guy named Walt Disney who did stuff. There was a guy named Stan Lee who did stuff. And there was a guy named Jim Henson. And I would mimic doing those things as a kid. College was great because I got that more background and more structured. And then when I found my spot, because when I was mimicking the other guys, I knew I didn't really have my thing. I worked for an educational development company. I was designing textbooks. And I fell in love with 5th grade math for the first time. Because we had these really neat authors that showed me math in a way I didn't see it in school. So the big aha moment for me was I discovered this brand new thing called 5th grade math, but I was also a little aggravated that I didn't learn about it in 5th grade. So my mission has now become, how do I create things that maybe might give those kids an aha moment while they're in 5th grade?
Okay, thank you. You kind of answered this one. You may want to take it or not, but I always maintain, you scratch an architect and you'll find a Lego kid underneath there somewhere, and that there are toys that or games, whatever, that we have as children that either inspire us in our career choices or are harbingers of our career choices. And I'm just, and you alluded to this with your play with Lincoln Logs, but was there a toy, a game, was there a play experience that you think influenced your path to becoming a creative?
I personally think a lot about my childhood and when we're trying to understand what goes in kids' mind and also the kind of play patterns they like. One of the experiences that I always go back is when me and my brother were trying to come up with our own play, with our own games, and trying to convince the other one that this is the game that we should play today. Growing in Iran, we didn't have a lot of fancy toys, so we had to really create and invent a lot of play patterns to and just entertain ourselves. One of the games that I always go back to is we were trying to memorize a name of countries in different continents, and whoever is more powerful has the longer name of countries, and we were both obsessed with clothes in our bedroom. And I knew many countries' names when I was like 5-year-old comparing to now. But so I really go back to that, and what was the driving factor for me that I wanted to learn it, and nobody forced me, and it was whoever has the bigger and nicer globe as really the fanciest thing for me in my mind. So that's the experience that I always go back to.
Okay, did you have a childhood experience?
I would say, as an older kid, I would go with Rubies Cube. Again, there was a name attached to it, so I knew there was a person behind it. And I just thought it was a cool thing. I would take it apart, not to solve it. I took it apart just to figure out how did they get it so that you can actually turn it in all different ways. And so I think that also kind of lit the spark of kind of the creating puzzles and doing that kind of a thing.
Mine was a screen experience. So Mattel came out with these little handheld games. There was a football game, there was a racing game, and those were some of the first handheld games. And I was really fascinated with that, and figured out that you could look at a screen and you could do something that was competitive. And then I went on and worked for a games company. In fact, we created the first 3D Lego game that you could play on a computer. And then from there, ran a games company that was acquired by Zynga, and Words with Friends and Farmville and those games. So I've always been fascinated with screens and games.
Hey, you want to change up your position on the Lincoln Log there? You got anything else for us?
So the thing that really started changed the mechanical world to electrical to software world for me was around the same time I started getting good with Legos, I took piano lessons. So seeing there's something physical about the scale of a piano with Legos and levers and pulleys and sounds, and it just all started making sense of the mechanical world to get into musical instruments, and then from there the structure of writing software flows so well in with musical instruments. The thing I found, if you find a really good software engineer, they probably also play a musical instrument pretty well.
That's very interesting.
So the whole musical notes with the physical of the Legos getting into software is where it really started clicking for me.
Yeah, phenomenal. Reuben Klamer, who invented the game of life, and I think he's into his 90s now, and he told me that he had a doctor who saved his life when he had a heart attack, and when he asked the doctor how he became a doctor, the doctor said that when he was a kid and he played the game of life, whenever he was the doctor, he won. So talking about what forms you in life, you know? There you go. So once you determined what you wanted to create, and we all know there's a gap between deciding what you want to create and actually creating it. What were some of the obstacles that you had to confront and face down in being able to actualize your dream? Want to go the other way? Give you time to think this time,
yeah, sure.
Lincoln Log guy.
I'm still standing by my Lincoln Logs.
Okay, you heard him. Okay. You want to take this one first this time?
So obstacles, I would say I'm a one-man shop. So when I do the apps, I do all the artwork, all the programming, I do all those things. So one of the obstacles is everything keeps changing. So it seems like every few years I have to learn another programming language. So as I'm getting older, that's getting harder to do. The other thing would be I'm doing, as a one-man shop, I also don't have the same marketing abilities and things like that. But I'm also like big-time ADD. So I have a gazillion ideas, and I'd say my biggest one is really just staying on one idea and getting it done before I kind of scoot over to another one and scoot over to another one.
So you are you, in the sense, are your own biggest obstacle.
I am my biggest obstacle, yes.
Okay, interesting. How about you?
So the way, basically we're designing toys that you could play with them on the iPad. And when we came up with the idea, the path was, I did my undergrad was in engineering, and then I got really interested in just education and helping kids with robotics actually. And then I did my master's in instructional technology and then PhD in early childhood development. And when I was doing my PhD, I basically wanted to learn what is the secret for kids, what is it that helps them to learn, and what are the play patterns that help them to become big thinkers and creators. And there's like a lot of research that says physical play, tactile experience, play with manipulators is good, and then same amount is actually no, it's not. It's what type of play, what do they actually do with those manipulators, what are the scaffolding they get, and you could use a digital board, and this is why the digital play is so amazing. So it's really two campaign, all about digital play and how exciting it is and what kind of scaffolding and feedback you could provide to help kids to play and learn, and this other campaign about manipulators and physical play. And then reading all those things, I always was thinking there has to be a way to bring the benefits from this side and bring the benefits from the other side together to combine a more powerful experience for children. So that was the idea behind Tigli and toys, and let's design toys that you could play with them, that has the effects of manipulators, but also have them interact with apps to bring the benefits of apps. But then that sounded great, but then we sat and watched many kids, more than hundreds, really, like we went to a lot of schools, and basically at some point people were making fun of me in subway. If I see a kid, I would just like, can I show you what you think? And then I realized kids are just looking at you and surprise you in many different ways, because they don't play the way you expect them to play. And they don't think the way you think they do. So that was the biggest obstacle to really learn, and we're still learning how they actually like to play, what do they enjoy about this medium of combining toys and apps, and how we can make it better and better for them. So kids are the source of imagination and also awesome.
Okay, did you have?
I would say from a software development perspective, companies need to learn how to fail very quickly. And you can do that when you're developing software. You can create something, you can test it, you can change it. There are analytics that are combined. Show of hands, who's ever played Candy Crush? Okay. Parent company is a company called King. Who thinks they're a games company? Most people. They're actually an analytics company, and they're very good at it. So it's the ability to actually see what's happening in real time and do A/B testing, to be able to check, change what you're doing, and then ultimately to be able to monetize the solution from when you're talking about a software as a toy.
Okay, sir?
So for me, the biggest challenge is trying to build a team that's not like me. If there's a lot of me around, the products get very engineering. Where, like this rubber duck, if it was just me, it would be a square box with a whole lot of computer horsepower. But getting people who are right-brained, left-brained, creatives, engineers, techies, and even the children's side, when you have, you ask a children to tell you a story about a rubber duck, it's way different than an adult tells you. So getting a team that's really good, that isn't just like you, that can push you to the next level, it sounds kind of corny, but that you can work together, you make each other better, and you can hire people that are better than you at certain things. Like, I'm not a really good software programmer, but I work with good programmers. I have a great mechanical engineer. I have a great this and this and this, and we're all so much different. We attack things from a different angle, and that's the way we break through on products.
Very good. Okay, let's. I got more questions, but I'm sure you do too. So who's got a question? Somebody got a question? Going once. Going twice. Sold to the man back there with his hand up. Microphone guy. That's right, you're the microphone. Get down there. And then run back up here. See, these guys were so entertaining that we forgot to do the microphone.
I'm the photographer.
Check.
Okay.
It's not so much of a question, it's a true life story, and maybe I think it's something similar to what Azeda has experienced, but 10 years ago, my soon-to-be 14-year-old son was 4, and we had the birthday party, and he was my first child, so I I naively thought that I could organize the playing of 3- and 4-year-olds. So we were going to have a football game in the backyard, and I'm a former football player, and I was going to teach them how to run plays and have them line up, and needless to say, it just went all over the place. So that's when I kind of learned the hard way that at that age, don't even try to organize their playing. You know, maybe you just give them the ball and just let them go with whatever they want to do. So if someone could kind of relate, how you guys can use just the nature of 3- or 4-year-olds to build your products, that'd be good.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we're living in an age of convergence. We certainly know that digital and physical are merging into phygital play. But there's other convergence going on too, and I was watching a commercial, I'm sure you've seen it, for one of the car companies, and they use Skeletor and G.I. Joe, not G.I. Joe, and He-Man. And at the same time, I'm looking at the New York Times, and there was a big article on 4-year-old girls who go to spas now and get massages and that sort of thing. And it occurred to me that we're undergoing age convergence. And I believe that we're going to be going through gender convergence as well in terms of play. And so I'm wondering, when you look at the play experience, and by the way, you can see racial convergence in terms of products like actually Bratz dolls. If you look at a Bratz doll, the hair is Asian, the complexion is Hispanic, the eyes are Caucasian, and the mouth is African. So we've had that going on for a while. So I'm wondering, from you on the panel, when you create, can you just create for a child now, or do you have to create for the kidult, all those who might want to play with your product? Are we at a point where we have to start thinking beyond strict age grading into how do you make a product scalable so everybody can enjoy it? Any thoughts on that?
That's actually a challenge we always think about. Should we mention the age range on our toys, or should we not mention anything? But one of the, in terms of marketing, you're almost, a lot of times you're forced to mention something, and also when you submit something on app, iTunes, you have to say if it's 3 to 5 or 6 and up. So you at some point you have to define something, but we went through like very narrow age range to 3+ to now more broader range 3 to 8. We're just really playing around, and there are really good points and bad points about each one of them. If you be narrow, then it helps you when you're designing an app. It helps you more to think about a 3-year-old and optimize the play, and think about how can they think about 3 variables at the same time, for example, or can they come up with their own story, versus, which is very different than how a 5-year-old would think. But then when you have a short range to parents, when you say this toy is for 3 to 4-year-old, then a parent who has a 4-year-old or a parent who has a 3-year-old say, oh, my kid is much smarter than that, they don't need it, and they try to buy a toy that is for older kids. So that's why we have like 3 to 8 now. We're trying, that's the thing. So a larger brand, range that we're sure 8-year-old wouldn't buy it, but maybe that make confidence to a 5-year-old that is actually the age that we're hoping them to play, to those parents buy it. So it's really a lot of different thinking. How do you design it, and how parents would perceive those age range, and what type of toy and experience they want their kids to have.
I'm thinking back to one of you mentioned Rubies Cube, which it was not an age-relevant product. I mean, it was pretty much for everybody. And as a matter of fact, I was an adult at the time, and it might have been you, but I was very resentful of this 8-year-old guy's ability to do that thing, to do the Rubies Cube. But Lego, if you think about Lego, it's ageless. So I'm wondering, in creating, again, do you think about age?
I think as an inventor of kids stuff, we have to meet a much higher standard than just an inventor. So I think anybody who steps into the kids space, you have to take on that responsibility of meeting the needs of a child and protecting them. So I think in all of our job descriptions, we should see ourselves as child caretakers, as child advocates. I think that's just something we need to do. Part of that, I think, is to think of all kids. I like to think of all kids, meaning that we can't just think about our kids or our own little community. I think we want to try to keep in mind the differences in abilities and in races and genders, and there's a whole slew of things that I think we just have to do as developers for kids. So that's what I kind of glean from what you're talking about.
Okay. Do you have an opinion there,
Yeah.
Ducky Boy?
Yeah, so the thing we learned with Edwin is we intended this to be a child's toy, but when we show it to people who don't have kids in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, like, well, what can I do with a duck? I don't know, throw it in your hot tub, put it in a swimming pool. So we intended on making a children's toy, but kind of like the Lego and some other like Rubies Cube, either you had a rubber duck when you grew up or you thought you did, and so we unintentionally kind of made this baby boomer speaker thing, but we really try to keep it as a toy and try to keep it on brand. Like, hey, you're going to Las Vegas with a duck, but but you kind of protect this little guy.
You look really cute with that, by the way.
You want another one?
There you go. That's the money shot.
All right.
But even with Lego, the brand is for all ages. But the toy packages, they do define a lot of times, this is for kids, this is for 6 to 8. So even when we think of Lego, we think of the play pattern and what we do with it. But the sets usually that adults, like me and my friends, sit together and build with it is different than the set they have a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old to do. So I think what they did very nicely, they taught a play pattern that they could really define for different age ranges, but it is, they do have in mind the abilities of those age ranges.
Did you have a comment on it?
He's going to show a quick video, and then I'll make a comment about it. And it's not really relative to playing with a toy, but really, and I've got 2 middle school age kids that play more with their phones than anything else.
That's a toy.
And the thing that they're doing with it is they're using social media. And so we think about that.
They're driving without you.
I'll start at the beginning.
Kids are always on the move. They're connected to everything and going everywhere. And before you even know it, they're driving without you. In all this crazy commotion, you need a reliable way to make sure your family is safe and sound. Snap Family Safe is the answer. Snap Family Safe lets you see where your child is on a map whenever you're worried, so you can enjoy peace of mind. There's no need to monitor your kids all day. Just set up safety zones and receive alerts when your children have arrived or left particular areas, like school. And when they're finally behind the wheel, enable driver safety so you know when they're texting, calling, or browsing the internet while driving. And the next time someone forgets their phone somewhere, quickly track it on a map and get it back quickly. Snap Family Safe also lets you be a proactive parent with call and text monitoring. Know when your child receives any unwanted calls or texts from spammers or bullies. Rest assured knowing you're doing your best to keep your family protected and secure. Get Snap Family Safe today to keep your loved ones and smart devices safe.
So there's a lot of play that's going on these devices, but there's a lot of risk, actually, in having the entire internet in the palm of the hand. And so we look at it from a parent perspective in terms of what's safe play look like when you're talking about digital devices.
Okay. Okay, we've got just a couple minutes left. Anybody else have a question? Okay, well, listen.
I just had one comment. So you talked a little bit about the age convergence.
Yes.
The one thing we're noticing, working with some local high schools to help us, because kids can program stuff these days, and we're working with a local high school with a group of 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, and they're helping us with some of the app programming and some of the software. And it's amazing that when I go into a group of juniors in high school, I'm not even in the top 50% of programming capabilities in the classes anymore. So when you talk about like age convergence, it's not just on users, but it's also on the innovators, the inventors. of, I text with these guys, I have a question like, how do you do this in Ruby or something like that, Sending the kid in high school, he's like, he texts it back to me or tweets it to me or something. And it's just awesome that you think of the inventors of being, all these people, now that you can be an inventor with iOS or any other platforms, while you're still in high school.
It's pretty interesting world we live in. And I want to thank our panel, even the ones who don't look like the ones in the picture, and for doing just a fantastic job today. And thank you.
Thank you. To our moderator, Richard.